check your phone. Crickets. Nothing. You scroll through social media and see groups of people laughing it up, drinking, vibing, living their best lives, and you feel this cold, heavy weight straight up crushing your chest. That specific kind of silence that hits different. Society's out here telling you this silence is a red flag. They're saying if you're rolling solo, something's busted inside you, like you're antisocial, broken, like you've straight up failed the most basic human test. They'll throw every label at you: loner, outcast, failure, weirdo. But here's the thing, they're dead wrong. What if I told you that your solitude isn't some kind of defect, but actually a defense mechanism? What if the reason you've got few or zero friends isn't because you can't connect with people, but because your brain is literally wired to reject anything fake? There's this wild concept in evolutionary psychology called the apex paradox. It basically says that as an organism becomes more specialized, more efficient, more straight up dangerous, its circle naturally gets smaller. Think about it. Sheep move in herds. Lions roll in prides. But the tiger? Bro, the tiger walks alone. If you're watching this right now, chances are you felt out of place your whole entire life. You've tried to fit in. You've tried wearing that mask, playing the game, but it never fits right. It keeps sliding off. You're here because deep down, you know there's something fundamentally different about how your mind processes the world around you. And guess what? You're absolutely right. Today, we're going to dissect the 7 rare traits found in people who walk alone. These aren't just personality quirks or some random characteristics. These are straight-up evolutionary adaptations. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why your circle is small as hell, why your standards are terrifying to regular people, and why your solitude is actually your greatest weapon in this game. But real talk, this isn't for the fragile or the soft. We're about to completely destroy that victim mentality you've been carrying around. We're about to look dead in the mirror, and you might be shook by what stares back at you. Trait 1, hyperacute pattern recognition. Most people are straight up sleepwalking through their interactions. They listen to words, I love you, I got your back, we're tight, and they take that stuff at face value because it's comfortable, it's easy, it doesn't require any work. But you're different. You can't do that. If you've got no friends, it's probably because you're suffering from, or blessed with, hyperacute pattern recognition. Your brain doesn't just listen to what people say. Nah, it analyzes what they actually do. It's tracking micro-expressions, tonal shifts, timing delays, all that subtle stuff. Psychologists call this thin slicing. The ability to find patterns in events based on narrow windows of experience. When someone throws you a compliment but their eyes don't crinkle at the corners, you see the envy lurking underneath. When someone agrees with you but their voice pitch rises just a little bit, you hear the deception. You see the shadow behind the mask. Bro, for the average person, a social gathering is just a fun exchange of energy. Good vibes, good times. For you, it's a deafening, chaotic stream of data bombarding your brain. You're watching people pretend. You're watching them suppress their true nature just to fit into the social hierarchy. And because you see the performance, you literally cannot participate in it. It feels like acting in a play where everyone knows their lines but you. Or worse, you know the lines, but you refuse to say them because they're straight up lies. This makes you dangerous to be around. People who live in denial absolutely hate those who see the truth. When you're in a group, you often stay quiet, not because you're shy, but because you're observing. And people feel your observation. It makes them mad uncomfortable. They sense that you see through their persona, their fake-ass facade. They'll call you judgmental. They'll call you intense. They'll say, "You're hard to read." What they really mean is, "You're a mirror and I don't like my reflection." If you've lost friends, ask yourself this: did you actually lose them, or did you expose them? Did they bounce because you were toxic, or did they flee because you were the only one who didn't buy their act? Your solitude is the price you pay for your clarity. You've got an allergic reaction to fake behavior. While others can swallow the poison of inauthenticity and smile through it, your system rejects it immediately. You're not lonely. You're just incapable of being lied to. Trait 2. Intolerance for social entropy. There's this law in physics called entropy. Systems tend toward disorder, toward randomness, toward noise. Most social interaction, that's pure entropy. It's noise. How about this weather? Did you catch the game last night? I can't stand my boss. It's just recycling dead information over and over again. If you've got few friends, it's because you possess this rare trait known as high need for cognition. This isn't just about being smart or having a high IQ. This is a biological drive, fam. Research in personality psychology shows that individuals with high openness and high intellect physically suffer when they're forced to engage in shallow interaction. It drains your dopamine, it spikes your cortisol levels. Small talk to you isn't polite, it's straight up theft. It's the theft of your time, your energy, your mental bandwidth. Most of the world operates at the bottom of the pyramid: survival, safety, belonging. Their conversations reflect this basic level. They talk about people. They talk about events. They gossip about drama. You operate at the top. Self-actualization, transcendence. You want to talk about ideas. You want to talk about the future. You want to decode the universe and figure out how things really work. When you try to bring these topics up at a dinner party, what happens? Awkward silence. People staring at you like you just spoke in a foreign language. Someone laughs nervously and changes the subject back to something safe, something basic. You're viewed as too heavy, too serious, too deep. So you've got a choice here. You can lobotomize yourself, dumb yourself down, pretend to care about celebrity gossip, pretend to be hyped about the mundane just to have friends, or you can stay silent and stay true. Most people choose the lobotomy. They'd rather be surrounded by fools than stand alone with their own thoughts. You chose the silence. This isn't arrogance, bro. This is energy economics. You realized a long time ago that you've got a finite amount of mental energy. Spending it on social entropy feels like literally burning money. You crave the deep dive. You want that 3 a.m. conversation about the nature of consciousness, the strategy of war, the meaning of death and existence. And because 99% of people are terrified of those depths, 99% of people cannot be your friend. You're a deep-sea diver in a world full of wading pools. Do not apologize for your depth. The ocean doesn't apologize for being deep just because the swimmer is scared of the bottom. Trait 3. The autoimmune response to control. Let's go darker for a second. There's this trait that's often diagnosed as oppositional defiant disorder in kids, but in adults, when it's channeled correctly, it's the trait of the genius. It's the refusal to submit to arbitrary authority. Most friendship circles aren't democracies. They're tyrannies. They're micro-cults with unwritten rules. We hate this person, so you gotta hate them too. We believe this political view, so you better believe it too. We're going out tonight, so you gotta come too. This is the herd instinct, the biological urge to conform, to stay safe in numbers. The Ash conformity experiments proved that 75% of people will agree with an obvious lie just to fit in with the group. If the group says the short line is the long line, the individual will straight up agree, even though their eyes are telling them different. You're in the 25%. You're the glitch in the matrix. When a social circle demands your compliance, your brain triggers a threat response. You don't feel safe in the herd. You feel suffocated, boxed in, trapped. You've got a high degree of autonomy built into your psychology. You cannot respect a person just because they're popular. You cannot agree with an idea just because it's trending on Twitter. You require logic. You require proof. You require things to actually make sense. This makes you a terrible friend to narcissists. Narcissists collect friends like accessories, like trophies on a shelf. They want entourage members who nod and clap and validate everything they say. You don't nod. You ask why. And why is the most dangerous word you can speak to a fragile ego. Because you cannot be controlled. You're often cast out. Groups will label you difficult or arrogant or problematic. They'll try to exile you, hoping to break you down. They hope that the pain of loneliness will force you to come crawling back, ready to obey and submit. But this is where you confuse the hell out of them. You don't crawl back. You thrive in the exile. You use it to build. This trait, this inability to be a sheep, is exactly why you're alone. But it's also why you're free. While they're trapped in a web of social obligations, debt, and lies, you're walking your own path. You've traded popularity for sovereignty, and sovereignty is a lonely kingdom, no doubt, but it's the only one worth ruling. Trait 4, the architect's obsession. Let's talk about resources for a minute. Most people treat their lives like a waiting room. They're waiting for the weekend, waiting for vacation, waiting for retirement, waiting for their life to start. They use friends to kill time, to distract themselves from the void. You feel the passing of time like a physical wound. You're not here to wait around. You're here to build something, whether it's a business, a body of art, a philosophy, or your own physique. You're possessed by a vision of what you could become. This is the architect trait, and here's the brutal truth about building something great. It requires monomaniacal focus. Neuroscience shows us that the brain has 2 primary modes: the default mode network, socializing, daydreaming, past and future thinking, and the task-positive network, deep focus, flow state, execution. They're anti-correlated. When one is on, the other is off. You cannot build an empire and maintain a thriving social life simultaneously. You just can't, bro. It's physically impossible. History is filled with outliers who had few friends. Tesla, Michelangelo, Newton. They weren't crying about it. They were too busy decoding the laws of the universe, creating masterpieces, changing the world. You've probably realized that every hour you spend in a bar listening to someone complain about their ex is an hour you straight up stole from your future self. So you started saying no. No to the drinks. No to the parties. No to the hanging out just for the sake of it. And when you say no enough times, guess what? The invitations stop coming. Good. This is the filtration system working exactly as it should. You're clearing the construction site. You're putting up the do not disturb sign on your life. People take this personally, though. They think you think you're better than them. You don't think you're better. You just know you've got work to do. You're playing a zero-sum game with your attention and energy. If you've got no friends right now, it might be because you're currently in a metamorphosis phase. The caterpillar dissolves completely inside the cocoon. It's got no friends in there. It's got no social life whatsoever. It's total destruction and reconstruction happening in the dark. If you're in that phase, solitude isn't a burden. It's a biological necessity. Do not let the world drag you out of your cocoon before you've got your wings fully developed. They will crush you if you emerge too early. Stay in the dark. Do the work. The friends you lose during your building phase were never gonna fit in your skyscraper anyway. Pause for a second. Take a breath. I can feel your resistance building. There's this voice in your head saying, but humans are social animals, bro. We need connection. Am I just coping? Am I just telling myself this to feel better about being alone? That's a valid question, and the answer is yes. We need connection. But you're starving because you're looking for steak in a candy store. You don't need more connection. You need rare connection. Quality over quantity. And because you are rare, the statistical probability of you finding your match is mad low. That's simply math, not a personal failing. If you're in the top 1% of intellect, ambition, or awareness, you will only resonate with 1% of the population. That means in a room of 100 people, 99 will bore you to tears, and you will scare the living hell out of them. This leads us to the fifth trait, the one that explains why your very presence triggers insecurity in others. This is where it gets psychological. This is where we enter the shadow. Trait 5, the unconscious mirror. Have you ever walked into a room, said absolutely nothing, and felt people dislike you immediately? Have you ever been targeted by a bully or a manipulator for no apparent reason? It's not because you're weak. It's because you're a screen. People with high self-awareness and low social need act as a blank screen upon which others project their own demons. This is the Jungian concept of the shadow. When a person who is fake, insecure, and desperate for approval meets you, someone who is quiet, contained, and self-sufficient, they don't see you. They see the part of themselves they're ashamed of. They see their own lack of courage reflected back at them. Your silence makes them hear their own internal noise louder. Your independence mocks their dependency. You become a walking reminder of what they are not. And because the human ego cannot handle shame, it converts that shame into aggression. They attack you to destroy the mirror, to make the uncomfortable feeling go away. If you've got no friends, it's often because you refuse to help people hide from themselves. Most friendships are codependent delusions. I'll tell you, you're right if you tell me I'm pretty. I'll validate your victimhood if you validate mine. It's a trade agreement built on lies. You don't sign that treaty. When someone complains about a problem they created, you don't say, "Poor you." You ask, "How are you gonna fix it?" You break the contract of mutual delusion. And when you break that contract, you become the villain in their story. But understand this, being the villain in a loser's story is straight up a compliment. It means you've retained your grip on reality. You're not lonely because you're unlikable. You're isolated because you're undeniable. You force people to face reality. And most people would literally rather die than face reality. Trait 6, temporal displacement. We live in a world obsessed with the now. Hedonism, instant gratification, the next scroll, the next drink, the next dopamine hit. The herd lives in the immediate present. You likely live in the future. This is a trait found in high-level strategists, visionaries, and ironically, the chronically anxious. You're constantly simulating future timelines in your head. You see cause and effect miles before anyone else does. When your friends say, "Let's just have fun tonight, bro. Don't worry about tomorrow," your brain screams, "Tomorrow is the only thing that actually matters." You see the consequences they're blind to. You see that the habit they're building today leads to the divorce in 10 years. You see that the business idea they're mocking right now is the one that's going to change the world. you're speaking a completely different language. This is temporal displacement. You're mentally living 5, 10, 20 years ahead of your peers. This makes connection nearly impossible. How can you connect with someone who's worried about some micro drama at work when you're worried about the trajectory of your entire life, the economy, the future of the human species? It feels like a parent trying to relate to a toddler. You can love the toddler, you can protect the toddler, but you cannot be friends with the toddler. This creates a profound sense of isolation, the isolation of the watchman. You're up on the wall, watching the horizon while everyone else is sleeping peacefully in the city below. They call you paranoid. They call you a buzzkill. They say you're overthinking everything until the wolf comes. Then suddenly, they want to be your friend. They want your protection. They want your foresight and planning. But by then, you've usually realized that you cannot save people who refuse to open their eyes. You've got to choose, walk alone towards the future, or stay behind and die in the past with them. You chose the future, and the future is a lonely place because no one else has arrived there yet. They want you to care about the party. You care about the outcome. They want you to care about the drama. You care about the destiny. And because you cannot synchronize your clock with theirs, you walk alone. But there's one final trait, the rarest of them all, the one that makes you not just misunderstood, but feared. Trait 7, the autotelic personality, the internal engine. Most human beings are external combustion engines. To run, they need fuel from the outside. They need compliments. They need validation. They need someone to witness their existence just to feel real. If you leave an average person alone in a room for 3 days with no phone and no contact, they unravel. They hallucinate. Their ego dissolves because it's got no reflection to latch onto. You're different. You're a nuclear engine. Your fuel source is internal. Psychology defines the autotelic personality as someone who finds purpose and satisfaction within the activity itself, not in the external reward. You don't do things for the applause. You do them because you must. You read because you need to know. You lift because you need to be strong. You create because the idea is burning a hole in your mind. This makes you immune to the greatest weapon society has, social leverage. Think about it. How does society control people? Through the fear of exclusion. If you don't do what we say, we won't like you. If you don't agree with us, you can't sit at our table. This threat works on 99% of people because they're terrified of starvation. Starvation of validation, of belonging. But what happens when they try this on you? They say, "We will ignore you." And you say, "Good. I've got books to read. I've got work to do." They say, "You'll be alone." And you say, "I prefer it." This terrifies them. A person who does not need others is a person who cannot be manipulated. You're a glitch in their power dynamic. If you've got no friends, it's often because people instinctively realize they have no leverage over you. They cannot bribe you with attention. They cannot punish you with silence. You're self-sustaining. And in a world full of parasites, the self-sustaining organism is the enemy. They hate you because you remind them of their own hunger. You remind them that they're slaves to the opinions of others while you're free. The pattern, what you really are. Now look at the pattern. Combine all these traits together. The lie detector, you see the truth. The depth addict, you reject the shallow. The sovereign mind, you reject control. The architect, you prioritize the mission. The mirror, you reflect their demons. The visionary, you live in the future. The internal engine, you don't need them. Do you see what this creates? It doesn't create a loner. It doesn't create a loser. It creates a king in exile. It creates an apex predator of the mind. The reason you have few or no friends is not because you're broken. It's because you are incompatible with the domestication of the modern human. Society is a farm, bro. It's designed to produce docile, consuming, dependent sheep. School teaches you to repeat. Work teaches you to obey. Media teaches you to envy. Social circles teach you to conform. You failed the training. Your programming rejected the update. And because you refused to become domestic, you were pushed to the fringe. You're the wolf they chased out of the village because you wouldn't wear the collar. And now you're sitting in the cold, looking at the village lights, wondering why you don't fit in. Stop wondering. You don't fit in because you don't belong in a cage. The danger, the trap, you must avoid. However, I gotta warn you, there's a danger here. A trap that many people like you fall into. When you're isolated for too long, the mind begins to eat itself. You start to internalize the rejection. You think, maybe they're right. Maybe I am just arrogant. Maybe I am unlovable. You start to soften your edges. You try to lower your standards just to feel the warmth of human contact. You let a project into your life, someone broken, someone toxic, just to have company. Or you go back to the herd, pretending to be stupid, pretending to care about the football game, just to silence the void. Do not do this. This is suicide. When a wolf tries to act like a sheep, it doesn't fool the sheep. The sheep are terrified, and the wolf starves to death. If you lower your frequency to match theirs, you will not find connection. You will find interference. You will feel more alone in a room full of people pretending to be someone you're not than you would feel sitting by yourself in total silence. The loneliness of the mask is far heavier than the loneliness of the cave. The solution: how to live in a world not made for you. So what's the solution? How do you live in a world that wasn't made for you? You must stop viewing your solitude as a prison and start viewing it as a laboratory. This is your monk mode. This is your training arc. If you've got no friends right now, the universe has given you a gift. It has cleared the board. It has removed the distractions. It has removed the noise. It has given you the one thing every great man and woman in history fought for: time and silence. Do not waste it feeling sorry for yourself. Use it. Here's your protocol. Step 1, the radical acceptance of standards. Stop apologizing for your requirements. If you require depth, loyalty, and intelligence, and you cannot find it, then you starve. You do not eat garbage just because you're hungry. You maintain the standard because the moment you lower the standard, you signal to the universe and to your own subconscious that you're willing to accept less. And you will get less. Stand firm in the void. Be willing to walk alone for a year, 5 years, 10 years, if that's what it takes to find the people who actually match your resonance. One ally who understands the war is worth 10,000 civilians who just want to party. Step 2, the signal strategy. You cannot find the others by chasing them. You find them by becoming a beacon. A lighthouse doesn't run around the island looking for boats. It stands tall and it shines its light. The boats come to it. How do you shine? By building, by speaking your truth, by becoming excellent at your craft. When you become undeniable in your field, when you become articulate in your philosophy, when you become physically and mentally formidable, you emit a signal, a specific frequency, and the other outliers, the other wolves, will see it. They will find you. Your future friends, your tribe, are not in the bar. They're working, they're building, they're hiding in plain sight, just like you. The only way to reach them is to rise to a level where they can see you. Step 3, the mask of sanity. This is Machiavelli's lesson. While you're waiting for your tribe, you must survive in the village. Do not go around telling everyone you're an apex predator. Do not tell your coworkers you think they're entropy. That's socially suicidal. Learn to wear the mask lightly. Be polite. Be kind. Use small talk as a tool, not a lifestyle. View social interaction as spycraft. You're an undercover agent. You smile. You nod. You ask about their weekend. You blend in, but you never forget that it's a disguise. You never let the mask fuse to your face. Keep your inner world secret. Share your true thoughts only with those who have earned the clearance level to hear them. For everyone else, give them the weather. Give them the sports. Give them what they can handle. Protect your power by hiding it. The cost and the payoff. Let's be honest about the cost. This path is hard as hell. The outlier path is not the path of happiness. It's the path of meaning. Happiness is cheap. You can buy happiness with a bottle of wine and a mediocre conversation. Meaning is expensive. Meaning costs you everything. It costs you the comfort of the herd. It costs you the illusion of safety. But the payoff? The payoff is a life that is actually yours. Most people die without ever having lived. They lived a script written by their parents, their teachers, their friends. They die surrounded by people, but they die strangers to themselves. You might walk alone. You might endure cold nights. But when you look in the mirror, you see a human being, not a reflection of a reflection. You possess your own mind. You possess your own soul. And that is a luxury that money cannot buy. Solitude is the tax you pay for freedom. And if you're willing to pay it, you become something the world has almost forgotten. A sovereign individual. The empty chair. Look at your life right now. Look at the empty chair across from you. It's not empty. It's reserved. It's reserved for loyalty. It's reserved for the rare few who can meet you at the summit. Until they arrive, do not fill it with ghosts. Do not fill it with noise. Honor the empty chair. Honor the silence, because in that silence, you are building the capacity to hold a conversation that can change the world. You are not lonely. You are simply the first one at the meeting point. Wait for them. They are coming, but they only come to those who can endure the wait. The final question. So I've got a question for you. Now that you know what you are, now that you know that your symptoms are actually strengths, are you gonna try to crawl back into the cage? Are you gonna try to cut off your own wings just to fit through the door of a house that's too small for you? Or are you gonna burn the bridge? Are you gonna accept the cold? Because the moment you stop trying to fit in is the moment you start to ascend. But be careful. Ascension makes you visible. And when you rise, you don't just attract allies, you attract enemies. The higher you climb, the stronger the wind gets. And there are things waiting for you in the dark that I haven't even mentioned yet. Psychological traps that only open up once you accept your power. You think the loneliness is the hard part? Nah, the loneliness is the easy part. The hard part is what comes next. The hard part is knowing what to do with the power once you have it. If this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for everyone. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss publicly on YouTube without being censored or demonetized. The algorithm suppresses the most powerful information. Those exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't already. But if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. You'll unlock exclusive uncensored videos that dive into the deepest parts of the human psyche. Most won't. That's the point.